Hi, and welcome back to Love Sober, the podcast for the sober and sober curious. And this episode is the first one of 2025, and I'm super excited to welcome Maggie here. Maggie Klaassens?
Yep, you got it. I
Excellent.
married
So,
into it, Kate.
Maggie Klaassens. And yeah, hi, Maggie. It's so lovely to see you.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Oh, bless you. I'm excited that you're here too. And it was serendipitous, wasn't it? Because we've sort of connected before. We were talking about we've been aware of each other's work in the sober space for a few years, and then it just sort of the stars aligned, and it just sort of happened, and we had a date that we could do the podcast, so we both jumped on it. So that's really, really fantastic. And Maggie is the host of a super exciting free on your online virtual event called the Sober Summit. And this brings together um, authors, podcasts, experts, and influencers in the sober community. So she's really busy doing great work in the sober community. And she's also a certified alcohol-free coach and the creator of the online community, the Sober Circle. So you're busy.
I'm a
You're
little busy,
busy.
but I love it. I mean, I don't know about you. I'm sure you can resonate with this, but when you get into tap into the sober community, it's such an amazing community to be a part of. So to give back and to be around these people, I mean, it just lights my fire. So I love doing this work and being a part of it. And it keeps me, in my sober journey too. So that's why I
Yeah,
love
yeah, it does, doesn't it? It keep it. I was talking to someone actually. I don't know. We were just chatting before we got on the air together about a retreat that I've just done in Spain. It's like a yoga creative midlife retreat for sober women. And we were talking about the habit change and the muscle power. There was somebody sort of, really kind of talking about how to remember, because sometimes you just, especially early days, you can sort of, it's sobriety can be a real game of memory sometimes. And we were talking about daily repetition and accountability. And I said, actually, doing the podcast
it.
was very much about keeping me remembering every week, checking in, doing this work. So I totally get what you mean about, it being part of and sort of foundational almost to our own sober journeys.
100%. I mean, this is what I learn and I grow from meeting other people in this space. Like I learn, what tools work for them and hearing their stories motivates me and inspires me. And so to be able to stay connected with people in this community, that's what keeps me close,
Yeah.
right? I never want to create any sort of distance between me and my old version of me, right? I don't want to lose track of the reason why I'm here today and why I'm doing this and why I chose to be alcohol free. So
Mm.
being connected to people in this community is huge part of my journey.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So tell us a little bit about the Sober Summer and when it is.
Yeah, so this is our fourth one, which is Kate. I never ever thought that I would be here. We're doing a fourth one. I never even thought I'd do a first one, to be honest. But we're on our fourth one. It's April 23rd through 25th. As you mentioned, it's an online event. So we have people from all over the world attend, which is just incredible. But we have 24 speakers. It's 3 days worth of content. So it's free in the sense that everybody has 24 hours to listen to that day's speakers. We have 8 interviews go live at 8 a.m. Eastern that morning. And then people have 24 hours to listen to it. And then the first days goes away and then day two. And it's really broken out into, different themes. So day one is really about the foundations of sobriety, right? We learn like the science behind it. We learn how to actually become sober. So we've got some incredible, we have Dr. Philippe Douillon, who is a neurologist. He talks about the brain and alcohol and neuroplasticity, which is just so interesting. I think the
Yeah.
science behind it is just, once you know the science, it's really hard to unknow the science. So
Yeah.
I love talking to people about the science and how alcohol impacts our brains and our bodies. And we also have Natalie Battaglia coming in from Australia, not coming in, but I got to interview her all the way from Australia, and she, talks about the joys of mocktails and how that's an integral part of, the early sobriety journey and utilizing tools like alcohol-free drinks and
Mm.
changing the recipe, but or changing the
Ingredients.
ingredients, but keeping the routine. That was a big one for me. And I just love talking to her. We had a really good time. And then day two is really about, the relationships in sobriety. So making new friends with Alex Hayes. She comes in and talks about how to make new friends, how to socialize with Victoria Vanstone, right? It's these parts that people, I think, keep them fearful of actually becoming sober because they don't know how to do that part of life without alcohol. It's such a big part of our culture that that fear almost keeps us from starting. And
Yeah.
so I think we're always going to have maybe a wedding or a party or a get together to go to. And so it's hard to envision that without those tools and
Mm.
inspiration from those people of knowing, like, how do I actually navigate a
Yeah.
social scene? And
Yeah.
so that's day two. And then day three, we have thriving in sobriety. So this is really like what happens after I get sober.
Mm.
So we have like Samantha Lander. She's coming in to talk about how to heal your body. Right? We put our bodies through a lot when we're drinking, and we don't even realize it. Even if you're a social drinker or
Mm.
a casual drinker or just a nightly wine drinker like I was, right? It's impactful to our bodies, and I don't think we really truly understand that. And we have topics like Gary Mankeys, he comes in and talks about the life you never knew was possible, right? Like how
Yeah.
much more life could there be to live if you just
Mm.
remove this one thing?
Yeah.
And I think oftentimes we think that we're giving up a lot, and truly it's more of focusing on what we're gaining because we gain
Mm.
so much more. And when we start focusing on all the things that we get from sobriety, man, it just opens up this whole world of like, wow, I didn't even know that life was possible.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a really, really great event. I have so much fun interviewing
Mm.
all these people, and you get to hear their stories, and then they each have a topic that they're talking about. So, anywhere from, dealing with marriage and family to, dealing with cravings and moderation. The question of like, what can I moderate?
Mm.
That comes up too. A lot of people think, well, maybe I could just moderate. So we answer a lot of those questions, and
Yeah.
it's a good tool for those that are either sober curious or even on their journey already. Because like you and I just said, it's important to stay connected, to listen to stories, and to, stay on top of topics that are, impactful to you in your journey right now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It sounds fantastic. It sounds like a fantastic resource for people. And that word resource came to me when I was listening to you all about, from the very beginning, I think that understanding the kind of science behind it and the neuroscience, neuroplasticity, for me, when I started to learn all about, this kind of stuff, it almost take there's so many we can have so many stories around alcohol, our personal narratives around alcohol, why we drank, why we drink, what you do. It feels incredibly personal, which it is. And there's something about understanding the science, the facts, and the inspiring, optimistic reality of neuroplasticity that I feel really helps to just cut through that personal narrative and just it sort of cuts through shame, it cuts through, it brings understanding, it shines a knowledgeable light on it. So I'm not like this bad person or this failure because I've, went to alcohol, this very culturally normative substance, to manage whatever it was, the stress or whatever that and then became a problem. I feel like it that kind of scientific lens really enables a lot of rightly placed compassion, actually. So I love that you're kicking off with that and then providing such resources for people because it sounds like that's it again. It's like, okay, so what do we do? What do we use? if we used alcohol as a maladaptive resource, what resources do we need? And it just sounds like this a wider variety of topics that is going to be so helpful for people.
Yeah, I mean it's you have to have those tools, right?
You
You
do.
have to have all these tools to tap into. And I talk a lot about building your sober toolbox
Yeah.
because not every tool is going to be the same for everybody. And not every tool is going to be the same for every moment in your journey either. So
Yeah.
we have to have a bunch of tools in our toolbox to tap into
Mhm.
when that moment hits, right? Whether it be the stress, right? That is inevitable in life, but
Yeah.
we have to have different coping mechanisms. Our go-to has always been alcohol, and it's because it's easy. It is the easy thing to do is just grab alcohol. Nobody wants to feel these hard feelings. Nobody wants to go through the hard moments, but you come out it you build up that emotional sobriety, that emotional resilience over time by using these tools where those hard things in life become easier. It doesn't mean they go away, but they become easier to deal with when you have the right tools.
Yeah.
And it's about building that sober toolbox.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Oh, well done. It sounds fantastic. So we'll put, all the dates and where to find you and how to register. We'll put all of that in the show notes.
Yeah, and we have a
Sure.
lot of fun during it too. So, I mean, I'm old school, we play a little bit of bingo, right, to keep people
Yeah.
engaged, and we have tons of fun giveaways,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
we have a digital goodie bag that I work with a lot of different brands in the industry and to have exclusive discounts to different products and services. And it's a community too. You find a lot of people who just you can resonate with their own stories. So people start sharing, attendees start sharing, like, gosh, I really resonated with this interview or this person, or I've been dealing with this. And you always can find somebody in this community that understands where you're at in your
Yeah.
journey and can help be there to support you and cheer you on. And that's what I love about this community. It is just such a positive, giving, supportive community.
Yeah,
And
it
it's
is.
important to find that.
Yeah, and we were talking like on the retreat. It reminds me, I host them with my yoga teacher, amazing yoga teacher called Bryony. And she was saying whenever we come together and we do a Love Sober event, she just finds it just incredibly inspiring to be working with women who are on a self-development journey, who are very plugged in, very mindful, and yeah, and I almost it sort of feels like being part of the sober community. I kind of take that for granted now. I kind of feel like everyone's like really, do you know what I mean? Like these really cool, kind of wise, kind of reflective, funny people. I think we get quite spoiled in the sober community.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. And you know what? You nailed it on the head. It's a self-development journey. That's what it turns
Mm,
into. So like the alcohol is just that first like layer of the onion that you peel off, and then it opens up the door to so much more. And you're going, oh, this is what
mm,
truly living means. This is like me
yes.
showing up, trying to be the best version of myself. And
Mm,
what can I do more of? How can I learn and grow? And when you tap into that sober community, you're finding people who are also wanting to
mm,
learn and grow with you. And that's really, I mean, that's where the magic happens, I
yeah.
think.
Yeah, and feel better. Like, who knew that we
Yes.
could feel better, more regulated, better, happier, just brighter, the problems you can tackle easier. I mean, it's like, who knew, basically. And that's why I love the fact that you're doing such a big kind of global event with the Sober Summit to just keep spreading that positive message.
Yeah, thank you.
So
I mean,
yeah.
we're trying to normalize the term sober too, right? I
Yeah.
think it has such a bad label, right? Right. I always was afraid of using the term sober, but sober summit just sounded so great. I'm like, I
Yeah.
have to use it. And
Yeah.
so,
You got
but
the
it,
two S's. We've got a
yeah.
little bit of alliteration there, right?
But it's about normalizing that term and making it
Yeah.
okay to make this life choice, right? It's
Mm,
okay to decide that you want to do something better for yourself. And we live in this world where, we've been shaming people for doing something good for themselves. Like
yeah.
that's not okay.
Yeah.
And we need to now, make it okay to make this life choice because it is the best one
Yeah.
anyone can make for
Yeah.
themselves.
Yeah. 100%. 100%. Um, So, what about you? Shall we hear a little bit about your story and how you came to make the brilliant decision to go alcohol free? And as we know, in an alcohol, I mean, I'm making assumptions, but for me, that I know that sort of getting across to people, even though I didn't need to explain it, but yeah, hello, did a podcast where I constantly explained it, but it was that sort of we generally have a little bit of a bumpy ride, because if we're going to disengage with something that is so culturally normative, there's going to be a story. So I'm wondering if that is the case for you and if you would share that story with us.
Yes, of course. And you're right. I mean, I tell, people who can decide one day that they're going to be alcohol free and do it, those are unicorns, right? It is a bumpy journey. It is a roller coaster of up and down and trying and failing and learning and growing, right? That's part of the journey. And so for me, wine was I really thought I was a sophisticated drinker because I had stopped in after college. I'd stopped drinking, hard liquor and beer, and I had moved on to wine. And I was very much felt like I was a sophisticated grown up, right? And that I was okay. I wasn't bad because I wasn't, binge drinking and I wasn't bellying up to the bar with the boys anymore. That was like the college Maggie, and now I'd moved on to the sophisticated Maggie. My dad had we lived in Washington State. My dad had a vineyard in our front yard, and so he started making wine, and I got very into the wine industry, and for years, even after college, had wished I'd gone into the wine industry. And I'm now so grateful that I didn't, because I think I really would have had a problem had I gone that route. But I loved learning about wine. I loved going to wine stores and tasting wine and reading labels. It's almost like, for me, it was like being at a good bookstore, right? Going around and finding different wines and tasting them. And I wasn't good at it, but I was good at drinking it. I wasn't like one of those people who could be like, "Oh, it tastes like cherry and apple." I wasn't one of those. But I did enjoy the process. I loved the romantic part of, drinking wine. And it was part of, I felt like it was part of me. And, with motherhood, I think no one can really prepare you for motherhood. I have three kids, and I fell very hard into mommy wine culture, where we were kind of told that you needed alcohol to kind of get through parenting.
Mm.
And, play dates had alcohol, baptisms, birthday parties, right? Everything had alcohol, and I kind of just bought into it. I had the tea towels and the signs, and I laughed about it, right? It was kind of funny to have the glass that said mommy wine, mommy juice, right? Like, I
Mm.
was laughing about it. Or the rosé all day t-shirt. Like, I had that and I flaunted it and I thought it was funny. And then I just felt very stuck after I had my third daughter. So I have two girls and a boy, and we lived in a town where we weren't near family at all. And so it was just me and my husband, and it was really hard. No support. Three kids. I had three kids under the age of four. And so life was really busy. And then COVID hit, and that didn't help. And I think with COVID, it went two ways. There was either people who were social drinkers who now were stuck at home and just didn't drink at all.
Mm.
And then there were people who ramped up their drinking because it was a very stressful, unfamiliar and unknowing time where we didn't know what was going to happen. And it was a really perfect excuse to drink. And so
And the
I
routines went out of the window.
out the window.
Mm.
Yeah, so all of a sudden that 5 o'clock, 5 o'clock anywhere kind of turned into 4 o'clock, and then
Yeah.
3 o'clock. But I was getting wine delivered to my house and thinking it was the best thing ever, that now I didn't have to go anywhere. I could have wine, cases of wine delivered. And, during this time, I just felt really stuck. But I don't know what it was or why this happened, but I started recognizing my behavior with wine, in that started getting very territorial over it. So if my husband and I opened up a bottle of wine, I would have to make sure that I got my fair share of that. And I would start getting very irritated or annoyed or snap at him if, God forbid, he drank more than like had some of my fair share. I would get really mad at him. Like, gosh, that's not like, that's so weird to get mad at someone over that. And I just started getting, a territorial is the best word to
Yeah.
describe it. Just I just needed to have it. I couldn't do a night without it. So, in the early days, you start making these rules for yourself like, okay, I want to cut back. I'm not going to drink during the week. And Monday afternoon would roll around and you go, okay, I'm done. I need it, right? Like I'm done. Today was too stressful, or we're having Italian, or it's cold outside, or I'd make up so
There's
many.
a cloud,
Yes, anything, right? You just
anything.
make up any excuse.
Yeah, yeah.
And I noticed that. I noticed that I couldn't go without drinking. And there was one particular night where I was upstairs bathing my kids and I could hear the my husband pop the wine cork and it went pop. And my blood pressure just started boiling and I got really anxious and I
Mm.
said, I got to get downstairs. We got to hurry up, get the kids out of the bath, get them dressed, get them, done. I got to go downstairs. He's drinking without me and I'm missing out.
Yeah.
And I all of a sudden froze and was like, whoa, that is not a good relationship with wine, with alcohol. It's just, that's not, I realized in that moment how much of a hold it had over me.
Mm.
So, like a lot of people, I started reading the books and I read Annie Grace's book and it worked, right? It was amazing. It worked. The day I put it down was the day I stopped until, we went on vacation a few months later. And this kind of back and forth went because if you're not continuing to do the work,
Mm.
right, you don't have that messaging of why you're doing it in the first place. You don't have that constant, okay, this is why I'm doing this. And
Yeah.
so it's very easy to go back and say, well, I can moderate now, or well, my drinking wasn't that bad,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
And so I had a lot of ups and downs, and then you just get tired of being sick and tired.
Yeah.
And so it took a couple of years, but eventually I just decided to stop finding excuses to drink and start finding excuses not to drink.
Mm.
And so it was Easter in 2022. I was at Easter Mass, and the priest had said something along the lines of Easter being about new beginnings. I thought, oh, this is great. This is a new beginning, right? Like I could use this as my excuse to start this alcohol-free journey. And that's what did it for me. I mean, not that it was that easy, but that was that spark of like, I need to start finding excuses to not drink instead of excuses to drink. And so I did 100-day challenge. And in that challenge, I felt the benefits of living an alcohol-free life
Mm.
and decided to keep going. And then 6 months into my journey, I was still reading the books, listening to the podcasts, and I was always into health and nutrition. And I was attending a lot of health and nutrition summits in the space. And I thought, gosh, I got to go find the one on alcohol because I could really use that. Like, I want to continue learning and growing. And I couldn't find one. So I
Ah.
thought, gosh, this is a really good opportunity. There should be something out there called the Sober Summit. And so I pitched the idea to a few podcasters and they politely declined. They're like, we don't really know what a summit is, like, not sure what that is or how
Mm.
to do it, but we'll be speakers if you want to put it together. And I thought, there's no way I can put this together. I'm nobody in this space. I'm not an author, a podcaster, an influencer. I'm just a mom of three living in Virginia. And then I heard a podcast about somebody who had run a marathon. And after getting sober, she was not a runner. That was not her thing, but she did it. I'm going, gosh, there are people out there who are running marathons, writing books, changing jobs, doing big things in this space. Like maybe this is my Mount Everest. Maybe this is the thing that's really hard to do and
Mm.
pushes me outside my comfort zone. But that's what sobriety is all about, is it's the things that push you outside your comfort zone. And in sobriety, you say, I can do that. Yes, it will be hard, but let me at least try. Whereas when I was drinking, that would always be something I would say I do and then never do, right? Like you just when you're around everyone drinking, you're like, oh yeah, I would love to do that. And it never happens,
Mm. Yeah.
right?
Or we say in England, all mouth and no trousers.
Oh, I love that. I love that. All mouth and no trousers. I
Yeah.
love Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what it was. And so I decided to try. And once I started getting some really big speakers like William Porter and Annie Grace and Casey McGuire McDavidson, and and William Porter, Andy Ramage. I'm probably missing so many amazing speakers, but I thought, gosh, I really have to do this thing. I actually thought, oh shoot, I have to now do
Yeah,
this thing.
yeah. What have I
Yeah.
done?
So we had our
Yeah,
first one in April 2023, and we had over 5,000 people attend, and it was just
wonderful.
incredible and so inspiring. And the emails that I got from people that were just like, this is what I needed at this time. This couldn't have been better timing. This was amazing. This changed my life. I mean, that's why I do it is, twofold, one for them and one for me,
Mm,
right? Like I
yeah.
do it to keep me in this journey and to learn and grow, and then two, to help inspire other people and let other people know that it's okay to choose an alcohol-free life. You don't have to wait to hit rock bottom, by the way. That's not what the message is. The message is it's okay to choose an alcohol-free life.
Yeah, and I totally, it's something that I've always felt very, very passionate about since I stopped drinking because I felt like there was not that message. There was not that message in the UK here like 10 years ago. There was not. And it's saying so in a way it's like there was just this message that you have to hit rock bottom, all the wheels off the wagon, because otherwise why would you do this crazy thing?
Right.
And it's like actually there are a lot of women, I work with women who are questioning, and it's an absolute, I think it's criminal to have that message that they need to wait till they're much, much worse before we act. And so the message that it's a hell of a lot better to stop when you've got some agency there than when you've lost agency. And we know that it goes in one direction, right? So, and that could take years, but it might not. I think it's very unpredictable. So, if we can ever kind of like really ramp up that message that, because I thought there was this narrative that, yeah, you've got to hit rock bottom. And it's like, well, sorry, who says that? And what is that? What is that elusive? And that what? Will I feel sudden clarity? And it was like, actually, I think that's a dangerous message.
Yeah. I mean, we constantly promote alcohol. We constantly give alcohol so many hats, right?
Yeah,
We it's the thing we turn to for comfort and celebration and I mean every emotion, right? It's like,
yeah,
oh, drink to it. And we give alcohol so much of the we just put it on a pedestal
yeah.
is the best way to say that. And oftentimes when I'm talking to clients or, they'll say, "Well, I can't go on vacation without it."
Mhm.
Why? Why can't you? Because you're in the Caribbean, you're with your family, you're not working. Like, really, you're going to give all the credit to alcohol? Like,
Yeah.
don't give alcohol so much credit over your life. And that's what I find that we're constantly doing is
Yeah.
too much credit.
Yeah. And what a relief when you get, you've got some sober time and you realize you can still go on holiday. You can be the last one dancing at a party. You can opt out of the party if you don't feel like it and nothing bad will happen. It's like the sort of the sequential and repetitive sort of relief of kind of reclaiming, oh, I put alcohol on the pedestal there. It's knocked like constantly. And then it was really important in that situation for me. And now it's not. It's like, I feel like I'm getting this image for myself of just kind of keep on uncovering the kind of superwoman.
Yes.
Like, you know what I mean? I'm like, I need a cape for now. I really need a cape because
I
I'm
do. I
feeling
feel like I have a
invincible.
superpower,
Yeah,
Absolutely.
totally.
I feel like this is a superpower.
Yeah.
And that was part of it when I got far enough into my journey and wanted to, I think a lot of us do, we turn around and go, I need to now tell other people about
Yes.
it because
Yeah.
I feel like I have a superpower.
Mm.
And all these women who are like me, who are falling into this mommy wine culture, or even just all parents who are just using alcohol as a coping mechanism, there's
Mhm.
a much better way. There's so many like that. It's
Yeah.
just bull crap. I don't know what to say. I don't
Yeah.
want to swear, but you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
we give it too much credit and we tell in society, we tell people that this is, you have to have this in order to do XYZ. And that's just not the case. Being sober is what gives you that life that you want.
Yeah. I love that. And so, what are the kind of practices that you do? I know you've talked about working in the sober space is keeping you grounded in the sober space and your sobriety. What other practices keep you sober, would you say?
Yeah, so one is constantly being in it, like you said, reading the books, listening to the podcasts, being part of the community. But really, I found that getting back to the basics is what has really helped me. So making sure that I'm sleeping, right? And I think sleep is one of the big benefits that happen once you remove alcohol. You realize, oh gosh, my sleep is so good. It was one of the reasons I never wanted to go back. I'm like, my sleep is too good. I don't want to go back. But so sleep, movement, so exercising. I now exercise for my mental health, not necessarily the way I physically look, but just because I can tell the difference from when I am exercising and when I'm not. My days are different when I show up for myself. And do I want to do it all the time? No, but I do it because I know it's going to set me up
Mm.
for a better day if I do.
Yeah.
And then nutrition is a really big one. So just, making sure I'm not I think once you remove alcohol, you oftentimes think, okay, what else am I putting in my body that's not great, right?
Mm.
If alcohol is this toxin, like what else am I putting in my body that isn't good for me? And
Mm.
so that's been a big one of just like getting back to good nutrition and making
Yeah.
sure I'm putting things in that fuel me and don't, run me down.
Mm.
And then mindfulness. So being grateful for little things that happen. And I think when we remove alcohol, we oftentimes see the world a bit differently. I see it now so much more through my kids' eyes than I did before. They get really excited about really little things. And now I get excited about those really little things too now because I can appreciate them now because I see them for what they are now. Whereas before I was just like, yeah, yeah, that's great. That, the sunset, whatever. And now I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, that looks
Mm.
amazing. Or, look at that animal we see or, that cool thing. It just, you see the world in like this technicolor now.
Yeah.
And so being mindful too about how I'm showing up in this world. The self-awareness that I've gotten from being sober is just like the greatest gift
Mm.
and understanding how I can show up as my best self for me and for my husband and for my kids. And it feels really good to do that.
Mm.
And so I really get back to the basics. And I know that when I show up for myself in those ways, I I can do anything, right? And that's what helps me is just
Mm.
getting back to the basics. And sometimes I think when we feel stuck in our alcohol-free journey, it's because we're not focusing on just the things that help us regulate our nervous system. Those four
Yeah.
things will help you regulate your nervous system. And those are the things that will keep cravings down. They'll help you manage triggers better
Mm.
because we live in a stressful environment and we need other coping mechanisms other than alcohol.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I love that. I really, yeah, I got that sense then when you were talking about the sort of, it was like a house, and you've got to have the foundation. So the first layer being sobriety, and then you got the real bricks and mortar of the building, which have to also be stable. The movement, the nutrition, the sleep. And like you said, some kind of mindfulness, bringing us back to the present, bringing us back to the present. And then it's like when we've got those, it's like the soft furnishings take care of themselves. We can add a flourish here, we can go for an awe experience, or this, but those allow for the other stuff to be there, the kind of fancy bits almost.
Yeah. And I think in doing that too, it's ultimate reason why I chose to do this was my kids, right? I
Mm.
was watching my daughter who was 4 at the time, 4 or 5, bring me a bottle of wine at night. And I'm going, oh no, right? Like I don't
Mm.
want her growing up thinking this is what you do as an adult. This is how
Yeah,
you deal with your day or your
yeah,
emotions. And so I've been learning, in the last 3 years of my sobriety, just learning the coping skills and then being able to teach it to my kids. And it
yeah.
starts with, that mindfulness is huge, and
Mm.
understanding what you need in a moment,
Yeah.
right?
and that things will pass. There's a perspective, isn't there? That who knew that cravings passed if we've got some chores, or in the early days for me, it's very much distraction. It was almost like external resources. So, I was getting my dopamine from, I'd buy a new lipstick. I was like, need a sober treat, need a sober treat. I have ADHD, so dopamine's a big one for me. And now I'm sort of more like, I might lift. I've just started lifting weights. It's very new. I'm like, now I get it, lifting weights. No, you don't, Kate. You literally started yesterday doing weights.
Do you like it though? I
Yeah,
just started last October and
yeah.
I love it. And it's amazing when you just show up for yourself in that way. It's funny when time passes, you look by a couple months later and you're like, "Oh, I've got a bicep. That's amazing. I'm toned."
Just the
Like, "Oh,
one.
yeah, just the one." Amazing. It's like it's the consistency. It's just
Yeah,
showing up for
it
yourself.
is
And how do you want to show up for
consistency.
yourself every day?
Yeah,
And do you want to
yeah.
show up tired and impatient and irritable and grumpy? No, I was sick of just showing
Mm.
up that way. That's what alcohol was doing for me. I was showing up in a way that I didn't want to, that didn't align with my values, didn't align with my authentic self.
Yeah,
And that was really tough. So doing these things, well, they're not always fun, right? Like lifting weights is hard,
yeah,
but when you do it, you feel really good about yourself and how
yeah.
you're showing up for other people.
Yeah, yeah, and I love that. I have a saying which it's still true. Sometimes it's still true. If I have a really, like things go, think chaos, reigns at home, like sometimes it does, and it's I am sober and the rest is good enough.
Yeah.
And I still come back to that. I'm like, if my head hits the pillow at night and everything else has been a shit show, I'm like, I'm still sober. So hello me. I give myself those props for that. And it helps me to lower the kind of bar to a more realistic way, more compassionate way with myself. Whereas when I was drinking, I was always I remember having this awful time. I've said this on the podcast before, but this is like a real example of how all over the place I could be when I was drinking. So I'd managed to get the kids, it's when they were really small. So I managed to get childcare, which was no mean feat. My husband was working in London, still on the newspapers where we used to work. And I was going to a funeral, which was a long drive the next day. A friend came over, so I decided to drink far too much wine. Then I realised there was also something for the PTA that I'd had to bake cupcakes. So I was making cupcakes at midnight, not able to sleep, and then having this awful drive to a funeral the next day. And I had a really bad panic attack on the motorway. I think you call them freeways. Um, and it was just so because I felt bad about drinking, I was trying to do all of this other stuff to prove that I was still had
Yeah.
my stuff together. And it was like, oh my God, like I had it so back to front. And it was, yeah, when I look back to that and that kind of version of what I was doing, I feel very sorry for myself actually, because I was like, that was really not good. That was not happy, Kate.
Yeah, and it probably didn't, I mean, it doesn't help with life, with parenting, with anything, right? Like you just it makes it harder. It makes
Yeah,
life
it
harder.
makes
And we
so
think it
much
makes it
harder.
easier, right? We think we're hitting the easy button and maybe we are for the first 20 minutes, but long term, it's making life harder.
For sure. So is. Yeah. So so we've talked about kind of your journey to sobriety and also what you do to sort of stay sober. What would you say that are the things that make you, and again, I think we've almost covered it, but if there was something extra that you've discovered in your sobriety that really, really lights you up, what would that be?
Oh gosh, that's such a great question. The things that light me up. I think it's, to be honest, and this, I don't want this to sound vain or anything, but I think being a lighthouse for other people. I think that when I can just help inspire somebody by just being me, gosh, that lights me up, right? Because I'm not trying to be something or somebody I'm not. And in sobriety, I'm showing up as the most authentic version of myself. Is it the best version of myself at all times? No. But am I striving for that? Yes. And I think if we can live in this world where everyone's striving to be the best versions of themselves, what a wonderful world that would be.
Mm.
Like, how can we help inspire each other and help each other grow as human beings? And, it doesn't have to be something really big, like even writing a book or having a podcast or, right? It's just showing up as you in this world. And, for your friends, your family, your neighbors. And, they start to notice, not right away, maybe, but 3 years in, I now have people coming up to me going, okay, tell me what you're doing. Tell me how you're doing it. Because I've been watching you, right? I've been lurking and I'm interested. And I think there's a lot of people out there that if they're really honest with themselves, they're probably questioning their relationship with alcohol.
Mm.
And showing someone the benefits and showing someone the other side of it, that does light me up. And it's again selfish, yes, but also, I want this world to be a better place and I want to help impact this world in a positive way. And I think if we could show people that alcohol is hurting us more than helping us, I think we could be in a really good place in 10 years if we can kind of flip the script.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. I found that quite moving then, and thank you for sharing that. Um, and yeah, when you were saying about kind of showing up as ourselves, yeah, it's almost that kind of the most obvious thing that we should be doing. It's like, who else are you going to be showing up as? But actually, the layers of kind of masking that we do, um, and hiding, and especially when, we've got something like, it feels like a bad, like this bad secret, like we know that it's a problem, but there's no one talking about it, and da 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 da. Yeah, once you get that out of the way, there's such a freedom, isn't there? And I don't think it doesn't come across as egotistical at all. It comes across as really generous because it's like that Brene Brown thing, it's like being vulnerable and showing people who we are. And then we can kind of touch each other, can't we? We can, we get that real sense of, well, it's belonging rather than fitting in, I think.
Right. And I mean, you said it right there, that masking. Like, I didn't think I was doing that because I
Mm.
wasn't, it to anybody else, it wasn't problematic. Right. And I still get friends and family who don't quite understand why I gave up alcohol. Right. But it was a
Mm.
problem for me. So it's a really personal choice where you have to make that decision of, is alcohol benefiting my life anymore?
Mm.
Or is it taking things away from me? And, only you can answer that. But if you don't give yourself the ability to just try, and that's what really did it for me. I thought I'm going to do a 100-day challenge and I'm going to actually give myself that freedom and see what it's like. And then I can always decide to go back. But we have to give ourselves enough time to find that freedom and then make that decision of whether
Yeah.
life is better with or without. A weekend, right? Even a month. I love
Mm.
the sober Octobers and the dry Januaries, but give yourself more time.
Yeah,
Give
yeah.
yourself that time to really truly see what life is like without it and then make that decision for you.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. And just before we finish, what are your top three resources, would you say, for someone who's really questioning on the fence? Do I, don't I?
Yeah, so my top resources, one, books, right? So find the books that inspire you from other people's stories that maybe you could resonate with, and educate yourself on what alcohol is and what it does to you, right? I think once I found out what that was, like what it physically was doing to my anxiety, my right, my liver, like right from both a mental and physical perspective, understand what alcohol is. I think we kind of sweep it under the rug. We don't even want to know, so we
Mm.
don't, but find out. And then listening to podcasts, I think is such an easy way. I mean, I depended on those so much in the early days that whenever I felt triggered or felt like a craving, I would just grab my my phone and my headphones and I would go out for a walk and I would listen to it. But I needed that constant messaging in my ear of why I was doing this because this world is so, our culture and our society is so alcohol heavy that if you start listening to that noise, it's easy to pull you
Yeah.
back. So you have to
Mhm.
put your earbuds in and start listening to the messages that say sobriety is better.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I
yeah.
had to keep hearing that message over and over again to rewire my brain to know that like that was what I wanted. Deep down I knew it, but I had to get that there. And then the community piece. So there are so many amazing communities out there. Find one, even if you have to kind of do your speed dating and, try one here and there, but there's so many amazing communities. And once you find people that are like-minded, it is you realize you're not alone in this journey and it's something that can really, I think for the people who try to do it themselves, I often see that they get stuck. But when they come back and they do it with community, that's when it really clicks for them.
Yeah.
So I would say books, podcasts, and community are the three things that
Mm.
and then I guess I want to add a fourth, and that's just learn other coping mechanisms of, find other things that you like to do to regulate your nervous system because life will get lifey and we
Yeah.
need to find those things. So one of my favorite things is just turn on some music and start dancing with my kids. I just, that pulls me right out. It's like,
Mm.
or give myself a timeout. Like it's okay
Yeah.
to give yourself this, I'll tell my husband, I need 5 minutes. I just need to go upstairs and take a breather. So
Yeah.
you got to learn other coping skills.
Yeah. Great. That's the great, great tips. Thank you so much, Maggie. It's just been so lovely talking to you today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Kate. I love what you're doing in this space. So keep doing it. And it was
Okay.
so wonderful to meet you. And thank you so much for having me.
Oh, yeah. Thanks so much. As I said, I'll post everything below about this Maggie's fantastic online event, the Sober Summit, which is coming up soon. Remind us of the dates.
April 23rd through 25th, so you can get your tickets now. But yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. So if you can join, please do. And I'd love to see you there.
And do they go to your website?
Yes, they can go to thesobersummit.com,
Yeah.
get their free ticket. And yeah, and if feel like I love meeting people in this space, so feel free to DM me on Instagram or email me at hello@thesobersummit.com. I love meet. It's one of my favorite things is to meet people in this space. So
That's great. Yeah, check out the Sober Summit. Absolutely. So, and if you're immediately concerned about your drinking, do reach out. There are Soberistas still has their Ask the Doctor service there, which is confidential. Also Alcohol Concern. Alcohol Change actually, UK. It's a fantastic resource that is doing the Sober Spring at the moment. So lots of great stuff out there. And like Maggie said, like um, find a community that you vibe with. There's lots of choice now, which is awesome. And stay safe, everyone. I'll see you next time for more chat.